June 15th, 1940. The Firs, a country estate near Whitchurch, Buckinghamshire. Major Millis Jeffreys stands in the workshop, holding what looks like an oversized lollipop. A glass sphere, roughly the size of a cricket ball, sits atop a wooden handle. The sphere is wrapped in knitted fabric and coated with a substance derived from birdlime, the same sticky compound used for centuries to trap birds. He pulls a pin. The thin metal casing springs away in two halves. The sticky sphere is exposed, glistening. Another pin. The mechanism arms. 5 seconds until detonation. This is the sticky bomb. And when British Army officials first lay eyes on it, they laugh. The War Office dismisses it as absurd. The Ordnance Board refuses to approve it. Military experts call it useless, dangerous, a toy. Yet within 3 years, German tank designers will coat every Panther, every Tiger, every Panzer with 200 kilograms of anti-magnetic paste. Production schedules will be extended by days. Engineers will apply the coating with blowtorches whilst benzene flames erupt around them. All because of this ridiculous British bomb that looked like something a child might make. This is the story of how a weapon that appeared utterly useless terrified the most technically sophisticated military engineers of the Second World War. The crisis begins on 26 May 1940. At Dunkirk, the British Expeditionary Force abandons nearly everything. Tanks, artillery, rifles by the 100,000, and crucially, anti-tank guns. Of the 509 2-pounder anti-tank guns that crossed to France, 509 are left behind. Back in Britain, only 167 anti-tank guns remain for the entire country. Ammunition is so scarce that regulations forbid even a single round being fired for training purposes. The British Army can field 27 divisions. The Home Guard, recently formed from civilians, has even less. Many units possess nothing more than shotguns and improvised pikes. Across the Channel, the Wehrmacht masses. Intelligence reports count 2,500 German tanks. Against this, Britain has virtually nothing. The nightmare scenario is obvious. Panzer columns rolling through Kent, through Sussex, up the main roads toward London, and the Home Guard, armed with shotguns, expected to stop them. The War Office issues frantic requests, any anti-tank weapon, anything that might disable a tank's tracks, anything that might at least slow them down. The problem is fundamental. Conventional explosives, when detonated against armored plate, dissipate their force outward. Most of the blast energy is wasted. To penetrate armor, you need the explosive in intimate contact with the target, shaped in such a way that the blast focuses inward. You need what explosives experts call a squash head charge or a poultice, and you need it attached firmly to the tank. How? Throw it. A spinning grenade might bounce off, land at the wrong angle, fail to make proper contact. You need adhesion. You need it to stick. Major Millis Jeffreys is not a conventional officer. Born in Surrey in 1899, educated at Tonbridge and Woolwich, he serves as a Royal Engineer in India throughout the 1920s, building roads through Waziristan, designing bridges in Peshawar. He develops a reputation as a brilliant, difficult man. Technically gifted, but poor with people. In 1939, when the War Office establishes military intelligence research to develop weapons for irregular warfare, Jeffreys takes charge of MERC, the subsection focused on sabotage devices. He recruits Stuart McCrae, the former editor of Armchair Science magazine. Together, They work on limpet mines, delayed action explosives that can be attached to ships using magnets. When the Dunkirk evacuation creates the anti-tank crisis, Jeffreys already has the basic concept. In 1938, he had experimented with explosive charges that deform on impact, creating intimate contact with the target. Now, with German invasion imminent, he returns to the idea. He enlists 2 scientists from Cambridge, Drs. Bauer and Schulman. The early prototypes are absurd. Bicycle inner tubes filled with plasticine, fitted with wooden handles, dipped in rubber solutions to make them sticky. Jeffreys and his team hurl them at metal bins representing tanks. Most bounce off, some stick briefly, then slide down. The adhesion is insufficient. Gordon Norwood, a master printer working with the team, suggests using a frangible container, something that breaks on impact, spreading the explosive. He demonstrates with a 150-watt light bulb inside a sock. When thrown, the bulb shatters but remains contained. The principle is sound. By July 1940, they have a working prototype. A glass sphere, manufactured to precise specifications. Inside, 1.25 pounds of Nobel's 823, a nitroglycerin compound developed by ICI. The consistency of petroleum jelly, stable enough to handle but devastating when detonated. The sphere is covered in stockinette, a knitted woolen fabric. This is then coated with a powerful adhesive derived from birdlime. The entire assembly sits inside a protective casing made of 2 thin metal hemispheres, spring-loaded, attached to a wooden handle containing the fuse mechanism. To use it, you pull the first pin. The casing falls away. The sticky sphere is exposed. You pull the second pin, arming the fuse. You have 5 seconds. The technique that proves most effective is not throwing. You run up to the tank. You strike the sphere against the hull as hard as possible. The glass shatters. The nitroglycerin spreads across the armor in a thick paste. The intimate contact is established. You release the handle. The lever activates the fuse. You run. 5 seconds. Detonation. The focused blast can penetrate 25 millimeters of armor, sufficient for the side plates of most tanks, adequate for attacking the thinner rear armor or the engine deck. When Jeffreys presents the sticky bomb to the War Office, the response is immediate derision. Officials call it ridiculous. The concept of running up to a tank and hitting it with what appears to be a lollipop seems suicidal. The Ordnance Board, responsible for approving all British Army weapons, refuses certification. They cite safety concerns. The nitroglycerin could become unstable. The adhesive could stick to a soldier's uniform. The glass sphere is fragile. The weapon is impractical. The trials only confirm their suspicions. The bombs fail to adhere to any surface covered in even the thinnest film of dried mud. As General Hastings Ismay points out, this represents the customary condition of tanks. Wet surfaces are worse. Rain, dew, or condensation render the adhesive useless. The Germans typically cover their tanks in dust from the road. The sticky bomb slides off within seconds. Multiple trials end with the same result, the bomb falling uselessly to the ground. But Winston Churchill intervenes. In October 1940, having seen Jeffreys's report and recognizing Britain's desperate situation, the Prime Minister issues a memo. 3 words. Sticky bomb. Make 1 million. 2 days later, Anthony Eden, Secretary of State for War, scribbles a note on a cabinet minute. The order stands, despite the Ordnance Board's objections, despite the failed trials, despite everything. Churchill believes in the concept. More importantly, he believes Britain needs something, anything, to combat German armour. Production begins. Not 1 million. By December 1940, fewer than 66,000 have been manufactured. The rate is disappointing. 5 to 10,000 per week. Suggestions emerge to reduce the order to 200,000. But improvements continue. The glass flask is replaced with plastic in later models. The Mark II version proves more robust. Testing procedures are refined. Finally, after passing all required tests, the number 74 grenade. Mark II receives official approval from the Ordnance Board. Full-scale production begins. Between 1940 and 1943, approximately 2.5 million sticky bombs are manufactured. The sticky bomb is first issued to Home Guard units in 1940. Despite its flaws, many units embrace it. The alternative is facing German tanks with no anti-tank weapons whatsoever. Training emphasizes concealment. Soldiers are taught to hide in trenches or behind walls, wait until the tank passes, then emerge and attack from behind, targeting the thinner rear armor or the engine compartment. The technique demands extraordinary courage. You are essentially required to let a 30-ton German tank drive past your position. Then expose yourself, run toward it, strike it with an explosive that might stick to your uniform. Hope it adheres. Hope you can get clear before detonation. The psychological burden is immense. But regular British and Commonwealth units also receive sticky bombs. In North Africa, where anti-tank guns remain scarce, the bombs see genuine combat use. In February 1943, during the Afrika Korps advance toward Thala in Tunisia, British forces employ sticky bombs against German armour. Records credit them with destroying 6 German tanks. Australian forces develop a refined technique. Rather than throwing the bomb, they place it directly onto the tank by hand. This proves safer. When detonated, the explosion propels the wooden handle away like a projectile. If the soldier stands to the side, outside the handle's trajectory, they remain relatively safe. The method also ensures better adhesion and more effective penetration against thicker armour. Australian units use sticky bombs during the Battle of Milne Bay and the Battle of Wau in New Guinea against Japanese tanks. Allied forces employ them at Anzio. The 1st Special Service Force, an American-Canadian commando unit, obtains sticky bombs from British supplies and uses them in Italy. Large numbers are supplied to the French resistance. For partisan forces, the sticky bomb represents an ideal sabotage weapon. It requires no specialized training. It can be concealed easily. It provides a means for lightly armed resistance fighters to attack German armored vehicles. Records of partisan use remain fragmentary, but estimates suggest hundreds of vehicles were damaged or destroyed by French resistance forces using sticky bombs. If you are finding this interesting, a quick subscribe helps more than you know. The truly remarkable aspect of the sticky bomb story is not British use. It is German reaction. In November 1942, Germany introduces the Haftholladung, a magnetic anti-tank mine. The weapon consists of a shaped charge warhead attached to 3 powerful horseshoe magnets. Infantry simply run up to a tank, place the mine on any magnetic surface, pull the safety pin, and retreat. The shaped charge can penetrate 140 millimeters of armor, more than 3 times the thickness of a Sherman tank's side protection. The Haftholladung proves effective, but represents a dangerous task for the user. They must approach within touching distance. They are exposed to enemy fire and to the tank's defensive weapons. German engineers immediately recognize a problem. The concept is simple. Allied forces could easily copy it. More concerning, the British already have their own adhesive anti-tank weapon, the sticky bomb. German intelligence reports describe the British weapon in detail. Although it uses adhesive rather than magnets, the principle is similar. Close assault, direct attachment, focused explosive charge. If the British could develop such a weapon out of desperation after Dunkirk, what might they achieve with German magnetic mine technology to study? The Heereswaffenamt, the German Army Armaments Office, initiates experiments in January 1943. They test 5 potential countermeasures, 3 to 5 millimeters of concrete mixed with fine rubble, paint with asphalt or tar mixed with fine rubble, a thick layer of oily substance, very thick paint, 2 to 3 millimeters, during winter pouring water over vehicles to create ice layers. Only the first option proves practical. But concrete is too brittle. It cracks under impact. The solution comes from Chemische Werke Zimmer AG, a Berlin paint manufacturer. They develop a paste consisting of 40% barium sulfate, 25% polyvinyl acetate, 10% zinc sulfide, 10% pine sawdust, plus ochre for coloring and pebble dust for texture. The mixture has the consistency of putty. When applied and hardened, it creates a rock-solid coating. The Germans call it Zimmerit. The application process is elaborate. First, a primer was applied to the bare metal. Then workers spread a 2 millimeter layer of Zimmerit paste across accessible surfaces using trowels. The layer must dry for 4 hours. Then blowtorches are used to evaporate solvents and harden the coating. The benzene in the mixture often ignites, creating intense flames. Without blowtorches, natural drying takes 8 days. A second 4 millimeter layer is then applied. Workers pattern it using combs or stamps, creating distinctive ridges or waffle patterns. These patterns serve a purpose. The ridges increase the distance between magnets and armor without adding excessive weight. The raised surface prevents magnetic mines from achieving full adhesion. More blowtorching follows. Coating a Tiger, one requires 200 kilograms of Zimmerit. A Panzer IV needs 100 kilograms. The entire process adds days to production schedules. Different factories develop different application patterns. The Daimler-Benz factory favors horizontal ridges. The Alket facility prefers vertical patterns. Sturmgeschütz, 3 assault guns, typically receive a distinctive waffle pattern. The variety is purely aesthetic. All patterns serve the same function. An order dated 29th of December 1943 mandates Zimmerit application on all German tanks and assault guns, Panthers, Tigers, tank destroyers, primarily the hull, where infantry can reach. Though in practice, crews often apply it to turrets as well. The coating sees use from August 1943 until September 1944. Then rumors circulate among German tank crews. Zimmerit catches fire when struck by shells. The coating becomes a liability, they claim. Tanks burn. German authorities conduct tests. They fire armor-piercing rounds, high explosive shells, shaped charges, and incendiary ammunition at Zimmerit-covered plates. Nothing ignites the coating. Even burning phosphorus in direct contact fails to set it alight. The rumors are false. Nevertheless, on the 9th of September 1944, an order terminates Zimmerit production. The official explanation mentions the fire risk. The actual reason is more practical. Germany faces a desperate shortage of tanks. Adding days to production schedules for a coating that protects against a threat that never materializes is indefensible. Because here is the extraordinary truth. The Allies never deploy magnetic anti-tank mines on any significant scale. American forces do not use them. British forces do not use them. Soviet forces do not use them. The only nation to field magnetic anti-tank mines in appreciable numbers during the Second World War is Germany. Zimmerit protects German tanks from a weapon that does not exist. The sticky bomb's actual combat record remains modest. 6 tanks at Thala. Unknown numbers in New Guinea. Some successes in Italy. Partisan actions in France. The weapon certainly does not win the war. It does not stop German armored offensives. It does not revolutionize anti-tank warfare. In practical terms, the sticky bomb is largely unsuccessful. It fails to adhere to dusty or muddy surfaces. It is dangerous to carry. The psychological barrier to running toward a tank with what resembles a lollipop is enormous. British and Commonwealth forces prefer the Piat, introduced in 1942. American forces rely on the bazooka. The Germans develop the Panzerfaust. These weapons allow soldiers to engage tanks from safe distances. The sticky bomb requires suicidal courage. Yet the sticky bomb's psychological impact vastly exceeds its material effectiveness. German engineers, observing British desperation after Dunkirk, recognize the threat of improvised, close-assault anti-tank weapons. They develop effective countermeasures. They implement those countermeasures across their entire armored force. They consume resources, time, and production capacity, defending against a threat that proves minimal. This is the definition of successful deterrence. Britain, facing invasion with virtually no anti-tank capability, develops a weapon that appears absurd. German intelligence takes it seriously. German engineering responds with elaborate, technical solutions. The sticky bomb influences German tank design for a crucial year of the war. Could Zimmerit's production delays have mattered? Each Tiger I takes approximately 2 additional days to coat. In 1943 and 1944, Germany produces roughly 1,350 Tigers. That represents 2,700 days of lost production, roughly 7.5 Tigers that might have reached the front. Small numbers, certainly. But in a war decided by attrition, every delay compounds. The sticky bomb also represents something more fundamental: British ingenuity under pressure. When conventional weapons are unavailable, develop unconventional alternatives. When traditional military authorities object, circumvent them. Churchill personally intervenes. He provides funding through his position as First Lord of the Treasury. He protects Jeffreys and MD1 from bureaucratic interference. He orders production despite expert objections. This approach characterizes British weapons development throughout the war. From the bouncing bomb to the Piat to countless SOE devices. Unconventional thinking applied to desperate circumstances. Today, surviving sticky bombs are extremely rare. The nitroglycerin filling made them hazardous to preserve. Most were destroyed after the war. A few examples exist in British museums, including the Imperial War Museums. Zimmerit remains visible on preserved German armor. The Bovington Tank Museum houses a Tiger II with its original coating intact. The Musée des Blindés in France displays multiple vehicles showing different Zimmerit patterns. The ridged or waffled surfaces, once applied frantically to counter British improvisation, now serve as distinctive features for military historians and modelling enthusiasts. Return to that workshop in Buckinghamshire. June 1940. Britain stands alone. Invasion is imminent. Anti-tank guns are gone. Conventional weapons are scarce, and Major Millis Jeffreys holds a glass sphere covered in birdlime. It looks like a toy. It looks useless. It looks like something that cannot possibly work. The War Office agrees. Military experts concur. Common sense suggests it is absurd. Yet within 3 years, every German tank rolling off production lines will be coated with 200 kilograms of anti-magnetic paste. Production schedules will be extended. Engineers will labour with blowtorches. Resources will be diverted, all to counter a threat that barely materialises, because the Germans looked at this ridiculous British bomb and recognised not what it was, but what it represented. Desperation, ingenuity, the willingness to try anything. And they took it seriously. They responded with German thoroughness. They engineered a solution. They implemented it systematically. And in doing so, they proved that the sticky bomb, despite being largely ineffective in practice, achieved something remarkable. It made the Wehrmacht afraid, not through its destructive power, not through battlefield successes, but through the simple fact of its existence. A weapon so desperate, so unconventional, so seemingly absurd that German engineers felt compelled to develop elaborate countermeasures. The sticky bomb looked useless, but it terrified German engineers nonetheless. And sometimes in warfare, the threat of a weapon matters more than the weapon itself.